Tim Walz was formally nominated as the Democratic candidate for vice president at the party's convention in Chicago on Wednesday night, where delegates also delighted in a surprise speech about freedom from Oprah Winfrey. Minnesota Democrats were the last to leave the United Center after their state governor worked the room with a folksy pep talk inspired by his love of American football. His proud son Gus could also be seen giving a tearful reaction. The night also played host to Democratic grandees such as former President Bill Clinton and former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, as well as rising party stars including Josh Shapiro, the governor of the key swing state of Pennsylvania. In case you missed the convention's third night, here are some of the highlights. Coach Walz leans into folksy style. Governor Walz gave a brief speech to formally accept the nomination as his party's vice presidential candidate and tapped into his favorite sport. "I haven't given a lot of big speeches like this, but I have given a lot of pep talks," he told a cheering crowd. The former high school American football coach went on to use pitch-side metaphors to try to stir the passions of Democrats and moderates alike. He portrayed his side as the underdogs in the presidential match. "It's the fourth quarter, we're down a field goal, but we're on offense and we've got the ball. We're driving down the field, and boy do we have the right team." Coach Walz's leans into folksy style. Governor Walz gave a brief speech to formally accept the nomination as his party's vice presidential candidate and tapped into his favorite sport. "I haven't given a lot of big speeches like this, but I have given a lot of pep talks," he told a cheering crowd. The former high school American football coach went on to use pitch-side metaphors to try to stir the passions of Democrats and moderates alike. He portrayed his side as the underdogs in the presidential match. "It's the fourth quarter, we're down a field goal, but we're on offense and we've got the ball. We're driving down the field, and boy do we have the right team." Mr. Walz's remarks were a folksy pitch to Middle America. He also spoke about his experience as a teacher, his lifelong love of hunting, and his family's fertility struggles. He relied on phrases that have become hits with Democratic devotees. One of them, "When we fight, we win," was chanted by the room like a sports crowd. "That's my dad," Gus Walz tears up. Wednesday night was another family affair at the DNC, with scenes reminiscent of an appearance by Donald Trump and J.D. Vance with their wives and relatives at the equivalent Republican gathering last month. Mr. Walz described his wife Gwen and children Hope and Gus as his entire world, a remark that got Gus on his feet, shouting through tears, "That's my dad." Ahead of the convention, Mr. and Mrs. Walz spoke to People magazine about their brilliant 17-year-old son, saying he had a learning disorder, ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and an anxiety disorder, saying these conditions gave him a superpower. Ms. Harris's family also had a prominent role. Tony West, her brother-in-law, spoke about how they met in law school and how Ms. Harris had gone on to fight for her family. Saying she would do this for voters if they elected her president. It was a message echoed by Harris's niece and two nephews, Alexander Hudlin, Jasper Emhoff, and Arden Emhoff, who appears on stage to say Auntie would be a president for all of us. Hudlin said Mrs. Harris calmed his fears as a 9-year-old when Trump won the presidency in 2016. She told him, "You know what superheroes do? They fight back." Oprah stands up for childless cat ladies. The crowd erupted when media mogul Oprah Winfrey stepped in front of the DNC podium, making a surprise appearance dressed in a purple pantsuit. Invoking the words of civil rights leader John Lewis and the lyrics of Woody Guthrie's "This Land Is Your Land," the longtime TV host told the audience that America is an ongoing project requiring hard work and heart work. Winfrey spoke on the abortion bans in Republican states as an example of a loss of freedom. She said to loud applause, "If you cannot control when and how you choose to bring your children into this world and how they are raised and supported, there is no American dream." While speaking about the principles of unity and neighbourly values, she provided the metaphor of a house on fire, saying the right thing to do was to save its inhabitants, even if one of them was a childless cat lady. The comments referred to a 2021 interview in which Mr. Vance disparaged Democratic politicians as a bunch of childless cat ladies. She was not the only celebrity who lent their support to the Democratic cause on Wednesday. Soul legend Stevie Wonder took to the podium and then the piano, and was followed on the keys by John Legend, who sang a rendition of Prince's Let's Go Crazy. There were also some moments of levity unrelated to politics. Comedian Mindy Kaling somehow shoehorned in a joke about Ben Affleck's divorce from Jennifer Lopez. Clinton cautions against overconfidence. Former President Bill Clinton delivered his 12th straight convention speech, a tradition that dates back to 1980 and spans the period he won 2 White House terms in the 1990s. He received a warm welcome from the Democratic faithful, even if it was not at the level seen for another former president, Barack Obama, on Tuesday night. In 2024, we have a clear choice. We the people versus me, myself, and I, the 78-year-old said, alluding to Trump. I know which one I like better for our country. Clinton, who was famously born in the small Arkansas town of Hope and later became that state's governor, echoed a warning made by the Obamas last night, saying that Democrats should not be overconfident. One of the reasons that President-to-be Harris is doing so well is that we're all so happy, he added, but you should never underestimate your opponent. Pelosi thanks Biden amid reports of bad blood. Former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has earned credit for helping to convince President Joe Biden to leave the 2024 White House race, as well as some heat. But the crowd at the United Center did not appear to meet her with animosity. The senior Democrat began her speech with gratitude for Mr. Biden. Thank you, Joe, the 84-year-old said after listing the president's legislative accomplishments. Despite reports of bad blood between Mr. Biden and Mrs. Pelosi, the president used his own DNC speech earlier this week to deny that he was upset with those who called on him to step aside in this year's election. Mrs. Pelosi did not wade any further into the controversy and spent much of her remaining remarks singing the praises of Ms. Harris and remarking on Trump's role in stirring in the Capitol riot on 6 January 2021. Subscribe for more updates.